All right, everybody, how's it going? It is Tuesday, September 19th, 2023, and of course, we just finished with a fun week 2 in the NFL, so it's only natural. It's only like the next, normal thing to go on to week 3 and get over our week 3 picks. Real quick on week 2, we did pretty good. We went 10-6, improving from a 9-7 start, so we're 19-13 overall. Not great, not terrible, but, it's somewhere in the middle. Doing pretty good overall. I think getting double digits in the second week is a good sign. Hopefully, week 3, we see everything good. We're seeing things clearly. We get more than 10, or we don't get less than 10, maybe just repeat. So we'll see how we do. Hopefully it's another good one. Hopefully everyone else is doing good on their picks. Make sure you're leaving those down in the comment section below. I guess you could leave a like and subscribe as well if you're not already. All that YouTube stuff, getting it out of the way early helps the video out, makes it do better. But the comments are the main thing I care about, because I do like to comment on those, see how people do. I like to go head to head. So make sure you leave your last week's record and how you're doing on the season, and then your picks and yada yada yada, all that fun stuff. Yeah, got 6 wrong last week. Nothing really too crazy, just pretty standard week. Any big regrets? Not as big as week 1, because I've missed 2 games that I shouldn't have in week 1. I'm still thinking about that. Maybe I shouldn't have picked the Patriots over the Dolphins, but again, I'm not picking my team against my team in the division. So I think that's it, though. Let's go ahead and jump into Thursday Night Football, which is a very good matchup, very fun game ahead. Oh yeah, all the lines are included from FanDuel. They don't really come into I don't really look at the lines until after the picks are made, so they're just included for, if you like to see them and see what the line says. Excuse me. But the New York Giants play the San Francisco Giants in San Francisco. The 49ers are 10.5 point favorites with an over-under of 44.5. The 49ers are coming off a pretty close divisional game against the Rams, 30-23 win. The Giants are coming off a escape win against the Cardinals, in which they were trailing 28-7 to arguably one of the worst teams in football this year. So it's kind of one of them things where it's like, well, who do you think is going to win? Giants don't got no line. Offense has been playing mediocre. We don't think Barkley's going to be in the game with the ankle sprain. So, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that the Giants offense may sputter and struggle against a 49ers defense that looks really good as per usual. So give me the 49ers in a game that probably won't be that exciting. And, Thursday night, short week for the Giants on the road. Eesh. Sunday, 1 p.m. football, we have the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Or is it the Indianapolis Ravens taking on the Baltimore Colts? I don't even know how you would begin to describe how weird this game technically is. The Ravens are 8.5 point favorites with an over-under of 44.5, because, again, the Baltimore Colts used to exist, and they moved to Indianapolis, and then the Ravens came from... There's a lot of weird movement involved with just these two teams. The Ravens are coming off a 27-24 win versus the Bengals to get to 2-0. The Colts are 1-1. They beat the Texans 31-20. We're not really sure if Anthony Richardson's going to play in this game. And I kind of think even if he does, I'm not really too blown away. It's like Minshew or Richardson against this Ravens defense. I think both of them may struggle against probably the best defense they're going to see to this point in their season, and to Richardson this point in his career. Because again, the Colts have played the Texans, not exactly a hard game, and then they played the Jaguars to open their season, I believe, and it's that's a pretty good defense, but I don't know if they're as good as what the Ravens can throw at you. Not as well coached. Ravens are at home. Ravens looked pretty good in their game against a much better team than, it seems like the Ravens are set to win this game, especially if Richardson doesn't play with the concussion. The Tennessee Titans take on the Cleveland Browns. Both teams are 1-1. The Titans are coming off a 27-24 win versus the Chargers, and the Browns are coming off a tough 26-22 loss to the Steelers. The Browns are favored by 3.5 with an over-under of 40.5. Regarding this game, I haven't been really super impressed with either one of these two teams, but one thing I have liked about the Titans, they seem to play pretty solid defense. So I'm all right, that seems to be pretty good, because they kind of cut the Chargers offense down pretty good and were able to win a game. They kind of stayed in it. They have really good coaching. So I kind of like the Titans defense and coaching over the Browns. And then I look at the offense where I'm I don't know, Titans have done okay. It seems like the Browns are super struggling on offense. They needed the Steelers, who looked miserable on defense in week 1 and miserable on offense in week 1. And all of a sudden they play the Browns, and the Steelers kind of slightly look a little better. I don't really know. I have a major issue with like Deshaun Watson playing football right now. He seems pretty bad. He seems rusty. He seems like the game has maybe passed him by. I'm not really sure what's going on with that. I don't really like the Nick Chubb injury. They had injuries to like 2 other guys. I'm not sure how hurt Newsome is. So like there's a few things going on here for the Browns that I'm not really liking, heading into a tough like physical game against the Titans. So I kind of like the Titans to take this one, with the Browns kind of in like this weird flux state after the injuries to Chubb, and I don't know how hurt Newsome was. So we'll see. Again, the Browns just don't seem to be playing good football right now. They had that week 1 win against the team they always beat, but that seemed to be just like weird AFC North stuff. Atlanta Falcons take on the Detroit Lions. Lions are 3.5-point favorites with an over-under of 45.5. Lions coming off another weird, tough loss to the Seahawks, 37-31. It just seems like the Lions and the Seahawks the last 3 years play these really crazy games, and the Lions always wind up losing. I'm not even sure if it means anything. Just Pete Carroll seems to own the Lions. And the Falcons are coming off a comeback win to 25-24 to move themselves to 2-0. They were trailing in that game, and the Packers pulled a Falcons against the Falcons, which is crazy to think about, right? The Falcons, who are famous for pulling the Falcons, the 28-3 thing, and then blowing all the games the next season and the season after that and the season after that, which is very funny. The Packers pulled the Falcons in Atlanta, which was hilarious. So I don't know. It's not really good insight to this game. But one of the things I'm worried about for the Lions in this one is they did lose CJ Gardner-Johnson and James Houston. That should help the Falcons a little bit offensively, kind of keep up in this game and stay in this game and kind of be a menace to Detroit. But I do wonder if like the Lions will just be able to kind of put points up on them and be able to do things because again, they've given up at least they gave up 20 something to the Panthers, 24 to the Packers. So they're prone to give up points. They're prone to give up scores and let teams score. And a team like the Lions probably will be able to score against this Atlanta defense. Again, I do think the Falcons, with a good run game, surprisingly decent pass game, are going to be able to like stay in this game, especially with the injuries to the Lions. But I just don't know if they have enough to keep up with the team like Detroit, because if both defenses just break the fuck down, which could happen, you trust the Lions more than you would the Falcons. I also just don't know how good the Falcons are away from home. They're good at home, but are they good on the road? That's in 2 different places, 2 different scenarios. This should be a really good game, to be honest, the Falcons and the Lions, surprisingly. Hey, look at that. I moved on from you just don't pick Atlanta era. All right, the New Orleans Saints take on the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are 2-point favorites with an over-under of 43.5. The Saints are 2-0 off a 20-17 win versus the Panthers, and the Packers are, like we just discussed, 1-1, tough loss. The Packers are at home, so I kind of like that going for them. I don't know. The Saints just played a very bad game. They didn't look great against the Panthers whatsoever. Who'd they play in week 1? I'm trying to remember who they played in week 1. It was such like a boring game. I think it was another one of them things where it's just like they played another bad team and just kind of, they played the Panthers in week. No, they just played the Panthers. Can't remember who they played week 1, but it was so boring I can't recall. I don't know. The Saints don't seem like they're a very good team. They have a pretty solid defense, but I can't tell if it was the Panthers or their week 1 opponent that they played that's kind of fogging that image up for me. Oh, they played the Titans. That's right. Actually, a pretty impressive win. But again, was at home, where the Saints seem to play better at home than on the road. So there's that going here. Packers play way better at home. I don't know. Packers offenses look pretty solid the last 2 games. They just kind of win away against the Falcons for whatever reason in the second half. So as long as they can remain consistent, they should be able to win this game. I don't know. This to me is like a prove it game for the Saints and Derek Carr. If they can go ahead and win this game, I'll start being a little bit more kind to them. But right now, it's like they feel like a very fraudulent, like 2-0 team. I don't know. I don't know why. This game. All right, well, this one's easy. Houston Texans take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jags are 9.5-point favorites with an over-under of 44.5. Jaguars just lost a really confusing game to the Chiefs, 17-9. I think the Chiefs defense may be better than I thought it was going to be. That's an impressive hold by the Chiefs. But the Jaguars receivers were like weirdly bad in this one. The Texans are off a 31-20 loss to the Colts. They're 0-2. I have the Jaguars winning. They're just a better football team. They're better on offense, defense, special teams, coaching. Well, maybe not coaching. I don't really know yet with D'Amico. The real question is here: will the Jags cover the 9.5? I think so. They could probably win this game by a couple scores. Nothing personal to Houston. It's just, not much to talk about that game. Sunday, let's see. Ooh, another game that I don't really give a shit about. The Denver Broncos take on the Miami Dolphins, who appear to have a very good offense this year. Dolphins are 6.5-point favorites with an over-under of 48.5. Broncos are 0-2 off a crushing loss to the Commanders, in which they threw a Hail Mary to almost tie the game, failed on the 2-point conversion, losing 35-33. And then the Miami Dolphins, of course, beat the Patriots 24-17 in a kind of weird game that was maybe the final score wasn't as close as it indicates, or it was. It's just another classic Patriots Dolphins close game. Whatever. Dolphins look really good though. Their offense seems to be good. Patriots defensively seem to be really good. This is kind of like that middle ground game for the Dolphins where they played a bad defense in the Chargers week 1, like one of the top 5 defenses in the Patriots in week 2. Now we'll see what they're actually kind of made out against the Broncos. I think they have a pretty good shot of winning this game. I don't know if the Broncos defensively, I don't know if Kareem Jackson's going to play, and if he doesn't, that's kind of going to mess things up a little bit for the Broncos in this one. Because again, without him, you may not have, because again, the suspension and everything. But if he doesn't get suspended, then it's fine. What else? Yeah, I don't know. I just don't trust the Broncos. I don't trust Russell Wilson. I don't trust the Sean Payton era. I guess for me, it's like we have to see it work and win and get going for me to actually be like, yeah, no, that's totally cool. We can believe in this now. So I'll take the Dolphins for now. This was the hardest game of the week for me to pick. The Los Angeles Chargers take on the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings are favored by 1.5 with an over-under of 54. This is going to be a shootout. The Vikings, we already discussed the Chargers. They lost 27-24 to the Titans. And then, of course, the Vikings lost 34-28 to the Eagles, which they looked pretty good at the end of the game, very bad at the beginning. So basically, the way I kind of view this game is the Vikings kind of suck ass early in the game, and the Chargers get up to like a 28-7 halftime lead. Then the Vikings use the second half, come back into the game, maybe even go up 31-28 at some point in this game. And then Herbert comes in and throws a touchdown to kind of take the game late. That's kind of how this game is going to play out. It just seems like neither defense is doing a lot this year to stop anybody, and it seems like both offenses seem really sharp. So it seems like the Titans will be able to score, and so will the Vikings. Neither team will be able to play defense really. So we kind of just have to go with how they play games. Chargers stay in games all season. The very two close scores. Vikings get down early and come back. So I'm kind of just building the narrative off that. I'm like, now it just comes down to which offense I trust a little bit more, and I would have to say I trust the Herbert and the Chargers a little bit more than Kirk Cousins and the Vikings at this point. Plus, I think both teams are pretty poorly coached, but so that's kind of irrelevant. I don't know. I just trust the Vikings defense a little less, and I think the Chargers are a little bit better of a team at this point. It's kind of how I look at that one. All right, now we're on to the Patriots and the Jets, which is going to be a really good game if you like defensive football, low-scoring games, kind of like coach-heavy football, kind of special teams dominated type of game. Patriots are favored by 2.5, and as we just kind of discussed, the Patriots lost to the Dolphins 24-17, and the Jets lost to the Cowboys in a pretty ugly game in which the Cowboys defense dominated. The Jets offense didn't really do much. They scored, but that was about it. So basically the reason I think the Patriots will win this game comes down to Zach Wilson's like play history against the Patriots hasn't exactly been like, I don't know, the greatest. He looks really like when he doesn't look the greatest when he plays most of the time, but it seems like he plays his worst against the Patriots. It doesn't seem to matter if it's home, away, if it's like he's got a good team around him. He just seems to collapse against the Patriots, and I'm guessing the Patriots defense, which is improved from last year, is going to provide a similar outcome for this. While I do think the Jets defense is great, we've seen like a crack in it or something against the Jets or against the Cowboys anyway. Maybe it's just because the Cowboys offense is that good and their defense was setting them up with short fields. But again, that doesn't mean the Patriots defense can't do something similar and kind of tilt this game in favor of Mac and get him on short fields, get the Patriots offense in short to go situations where the Patriots can hit a bunch of field goals or maybe get their offense moving. Again, the Jets defense will keep them in this game. I think the Jets special teams will keep them in this game, but the ultimate thing that kind of cracks this game for me is until I can see the Jets beat the Patriots, which they haven't in 7 years. It's been like 14 straight games. It's insane. It might even be 8 years at 16. I can't remember. Until they actually like can pull the win off versus the Patriots, it's really hard to pick them, especially against like with Zach Wilson at quarterback. If this was the Aaron Rodgers game, I'd have picked the Jets. I think that would have been enough, personally anyway. But as it stands now, I have to go with the Patriots. Then we have the Buffalo Bills taking on the Washington Commanders. The Bills are 6.5-point favorites with an over-under of 44.5. This is my upset pick of the week. We've already discussed the Commanders beating the Broncos in a crazy game. The Raiders came out and the Bills came out after a rough week one look against the Jets and just destroyed the Raiders 38-10. And it would seem like momentum in all the senses say to pick the Bills in this game, but there's just something in the back of my head that's like, this is the one weird game a year where Buffalo loses. It seems like in 21 they lost to like the Jaguars. Last year they lost to somebody like really weird. Can't remember who it was, but it was like a really odd team that one of their losses was like to a very bad team. And I think this year it's going to be the Commanders. I don't think the Commanders are a really bad team. I just feel like the Commanders are one of them type of like super heavy defensive teams with just enough good offense that could like shock the Buffalo Bills and take a game, especially like in Washington early in the season. Buffalo's kind of look shaky. They look shaky at the start of the game versus the Raiders, and maybe like Washington could take advantage of that, never let them settle down and get into a groove like the Buffalo eventually did against the Raiders. You know, Buffalo also kind of knows Josh McDaniels a little bit for the offense, so they can kind of scheme a bit. So, you know, Sean McDermott knowing McDaniels probably helped that game out. There's just like parts of this game where I'm like, I wonder, again, I don't really have to explain because I just feel like this is going to be a crazy upset. I don't have a good reason. I just feel like the Commanders defense doesn't allow the Buffalo Bills, who've been starting off games really sloppily, to get into any kind of a groove, and they never really establish themselves, and the Commanders offense does just enough to keep themselves ahead of the game. That's why I think the upset's going to happen. It's all early game stuff in that one. Let's go to 4 o'clock. Only 3 games to cover. We're getting through these games as fast as possible. So you remember the old Atlanta Falcons rule about, you know, you don't pick the Falcons unless you absolutely have to pick the Falcons because the Falcons are always going to lose? Well, we changed it. We've noticed that the Carolina Panthers are now the Falcons, or at least the Panthers are the new Falcons until they win a game. So I'm not picking the Panthers anymore. I haven't picked them since like last year, like midway through the season, and it's been really good luck. I'm telling you, just don't pick this team. They're not very good. And if you get it wrong, you're only going to get like four times, and you get 12 games right out of it. You know, it's a pretty good strategy. Until they win, I would avoid this team. I don't know. They can kind of stick around late against bad teams like the Saints, but I don't really know if they'll be able to hang with Seattle, who looks like a real it looks like their offense clicked on and suddenly started working against the Lions. So Carolina, whose defense isn't much better than Detroit's or is much worse, probably won't be able to handle the Seahawks if they're playing well. Seattle's defense didn't really do much against the Lions, but Carolina doesn't have much of an offense, so feels like an easy win for Seattle. I may be over-explaining this game. I'm taking Seattle. I don't know why Dallas gets another easy. Dude, Dallas has like the easiest schedule I've ever seen. They may go undefeated. We've already talked about the Cowboys being 2-0. Cardinals game we already talked about. They blew it against the Giants, but I think they're tanking, so it doesn't matter. The real question of this game is, can the Cowboys cover a 12.5 point line? And will the Cowboys hit the over and under of 43 all by themselves? I think they get 42 and come pretty close to making it an over all by themselves. But with the Cardinals score is the real question. Whenever you see me put like 13, I don't know if they're going to score points. I'm just too nice to a person to put 3 or 0 or 10 or 7. My lowest score I'll put is 13. That to me is like, I don't know if they'll score. So when you've seen the Jets having 13, I don't know if the Jets will score. I don't know if the Patriots are going to score more than 10 points. I just don't do low scores. Literally, I think the Patriots can win that game like 7-0 or 10-0. It's crazy. But yeah, Cowboys will win this game. Here's another game we don't really see. There's a reason some games get a little bit more attention earlier in the thing, and then you're like, well, how's he going to give all this attention to all these games? It's like, well, there's like 4, 5, 6 games this week I don't have to fucking even really care about. The Bears playing the Chiefs. Do we really think the Bears are going to upset Kansas City in Kansas City? No, we don't. The Bears lost 27-17 to the Bucs. We haven't talked about that game yet. They're 0-2. The Buccaneers look pretty good. The Bears look like, you know, they look real bad. That offense is pretty abysmal. I don't know what they're going to do about it. The real question of this game is, can the Chiefs cover a 13.5 point line with their own offensive woes that they've been having? I think their defense has been really good this year, the Chiefs, and it's been kind of surprising to me. I didn't know they were like built like that. They did really good against the Jags. So I do like that. So I don't think the Bears have a really good ghost chance in hell. I just don't know if the Chiefs offensively right now are going to be able to make it a 13.5-point game. So I got the Bears covering that, but the Chiefs win pretty easily. I have a weird feeling I don't know if they can score, like, win by 14 right now. Because again, they just seem so weird on offense. They're like, the post Nagy era has been weird for Kansas City so far. Sunday Night Football. What a dud. The Pittsburgh Steelers take on the Las Vegas Raiders. Steelers are 1-point favorites with an over-under of 44. Both teams are 1-1. Both teams are coming off, the Steelers are coming off a win versus the Browns, 26-22. The Raiders are coming off a bad loss, 38-10. I've kind of already explained why I think the Raiders lost that game. I think McDermott knows McDaniels, so he kind of was able to like plan and have this super like good game plan for the Raiders offense. And with Jimmy G as kind of a limited quarterback and a limited offense as it is, the Raiders were pretty much mincemeat. And the Raiders didn't take advantage of a bunch of Bills errors at the start of the game, so it allowed Josh Allen to get settled. So, you know, that's part of the thing. Steelers don't not have the offensive capabilities that the Bills have, not even in the same ballpark. So I can imagine a decent Raiders defense, you know, shutting down the Steelers offense, especially the Steelers offense that only really seen success because it was against the Browns at home, where they seem to have this magic spell on the Browns where they never lose. I swear to God, Pittsburgh's won like 21 straight games now against the Browns. It's like the craziest streak on Monday Night Football at home. It's like, okay, the Browns were destined to lose that game, I guess. I don't know. And then of course, you know, I just think the Raiders are a little bit better than the Steelers right now. I guess the Steelers could win this game and prove me wrong, but again, you know, I like the Raiders being at home. I don't really like the Steelers football team right now. I don't think they have a very good offense. I think the Raiders defense could cause some problems for them. Steelers don't have the advantage of playing their division rival Browns and with their evil Pittsburgh magic. So I'll take the Raiders in this one. I just really don't care. A doubleheader Monday Night Football. Woo! This is a game people think might be closer because the Bucs are 2-0, but it's a fraudulent 2-0 because I think they've beaten two bad teams. The Eagles are favored by 5.5 with an over-under of 46. We've kind of discussed both teams are 2-0. Both teams are coming off wins. The Eagles have played the Patriots, who seem like a good defense, not a good offense, and the Vikings, who seem like a good offense, but not a good defense. So we kind of have this weird thing going on where we know the Eagles can play against a good offense and a good defense. I don't know if Tampa Bay actually has a good offense or a good defense. They seem to be okay, but they haven't really. They played the Bears and I think the Panthers or something. It was just like they haven't really played anybody good. It's just, and we're kind of in the Baker Mayfield cycle where he beats up on bad teams after the media criticism, after the underdog mentality. Now we're going to see him play a good team, and we'll see what happens. I'm not going to buy into Tampa's offense yet. I still don't know if they're going to be one of the top teams. They seem like they're one of the bottom teams that are just a little bit better than the rest of the worst teams, but they're still one of those teams. I don't know. Maybe an upset, a really good game by the Bucs could prove everybody wrong and shut me up and, you know, shut all the naysayers up about Baker. But we got to see it first, right? This is a big game. They don't even necessarily have to beat the Eagles. If they can keep it close like this, or maybe even lose by a field goal, maybe Tampa's not as bad as we thought. This is an asterisk game. I actually don't know how this is going to go because I don't know if Joe Burrow's playing. We'll revisit this one Saturday. But as it stands, I don't think he's going to play because of the calf injury. So the Bengals are 2.5-point favorites with an over-under of 43. And this is, again, if Burrow doesn't play. If he does play, I'm maybe going to change this pick, but I don't know yet. Basically, I'm going with the Rams in this one because I like the way that they played. They won their first game, very, very good game. They were explosive. They were just good. They looked like a good football team. And then against the 49ers, they continued to look like a good football team. They have a lot of very young players that seem to be playing well. That Puka Nuka Chuka Huka Maluka Duka, whatever the fuck his name is, I don't know how to say it, don't know what it is. He's like a rookie that's on pace for like 250 catches. Really go look him up. He had like 16 catches yesterday. This kid's phenomenal already. Or at least seems to be. No one knows what's going on. So I kind of like that the Rams are seeming to like have this cool little like I don't know what to call it. Like they're building something there, and it seems to be working really well. They hung with the 49ers, a team that they normally never play well. They played very well. They lost. The score was like 30-10. They kicked the bullshit field goal at the end of the game, but they played really well for everything considered. So again, they can, if they bring that same offense they had in week 1, week 2 against the Bengals. I don't know if the Bengals defense will be ready for that, especially without Joe Burrow. I don't know if they'll be able to hang. So again, for right now, that's kind of how I view this game. Rams offense will be too much for a Bengals offense with a backup to stay into, and I just don't know, even if Burrow does play, if they can hang. Because, again, the Bengals offense has been so start and stop right now. Very inconsistent. I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about that one. We'll revisit it, of course, when we know Burrow's health. There's my picks records last week, this week, overall. Not bad. All right, though. So that's pretty much that for this one. Oops. That's pretty much that for this one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the picks video this time around. Oh no, I made things way too loud. Well, hopefully I didn't ruin the video. Hopefully everything's still good. It should be. I have plenty of handrails to prevent that from being too big of an issue. But yeah, so that's week 3 done, out of the way. Picks down. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Do you agree with the picks? Do you think they need to be redone? Do you think I'm going to get a bunch wrong? What are your picks? Leave a like, subscribe, all that YouTube mumbo jumbo. But yeah, that's pretty much it for now. I'm going to get out of here before this gets any longer. We're at like 25, 26 minutes. So, all right. Appreciate everyone for listening. Have a good rest of your day, night, morning, mid-afternoon, whenever whatever time. All right, well, what do I press again? The button? The fuck? I like how you can see, like, on the screen, it literally just says stop recording, and I'm just hovering over it. This visual gag doesn't work when my screen is visible.